So, it's a strategy that's as old as Christianity, but...
The fascinating thing that I read this morning about evangelicals is that 30 to 40% of them do not go to church at all. 30 to 40% of these self-described evangelicals do not go to church at all.
Because they might hear something that conflicts with their beliefs.
Exactly. So they basically do not know what other evangelicals believe. They know what they think they want to believe.
I hear you. I tried to look up online the other day and see if you could find out an estimate of how many members of the KKK there are.
Yeah. Is there?
There's no way to tell,
no way
apparently.
To tell. Mm-hmm.
But I'm guessing that given the entire United States, there are more than 10,000.
Well, yeah, I would imagine.
Probably more than 100,000.
Probably, yeah.
So the thing is of scale. There are 10,000 radical right-wing terrorists over in the Middle East killing people over there. And we got 10 times as many already here, already living, right-wing terrorists ready to kill people every day.
Yeah.
And we don't worry about them. It's like, they're Christian, it's okay. Jesus fucking Christ.
Right. Right. Right.
So that's a point I, put up every once in a while. It's like, right-wing terrorist right here at home. Timothy McVeigh. Right-wing Christian terrorist.
Right. And for some reason, we don't call them that.
Yeah.
They
make a big deal about,
reason.
He won't say radical Islam, but you won't say right-wing Christian terrorist, will
Right.
you? Motherfuckers.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yep. Yep.
It is a show. So, do you feel like talking about phenomenology at all? I have avoided, I understand I could just look it up in Wikipedia, but it's not something I know anything about. It is something, my knowledge in that area doesn't have the label on it. And I'm thinking maybe if you explain it, I'll figure out where it goes in my file.
My problem is being able to speak. Okay.
I just want to know what you've learned about it.
Well, okay. My problem is I don't want to be wrong because I'm often wrong. Okay, and I don't like to be wrong. I hate to be wrong. I hate misinformation.
Okay.
But basically, phenomenology is the first person point of view. Okay? It is how you experience things.
Right.
And how you and the thing experienced relate to each other. So the place that I'm standing with phenomenology started out being theater. Okay? In theater, there is a phenomenological experience in live theater, live music, any kind of live, performative, audience-based thing. Okay, now, and that's not to say that there's not with movies. That phenomenology doesn't come into play with a movie, but it is not a two-way street. Okay. It is a two-way street in theater. It is a two-way. So if you extrapolate from theater to music to, you can extrapolate on into political debate, into any of those kinds of things where you have the performative element and the audience element.
Yes, the debates are nothing but theater.
Exactly, they are nothing but theater. And I was watching a thing on PBS last night, and you should go watch this, about David Bowie. Okay, 5 years of David Bowie, 5 significant years of David Bowie. Basically, this documentary was fascinating. And Bowie, to me, and this is something that I honestly did not know about him until he's died, basically. He absolutely manipulated his audience in a phenomenological way.
That was the goal.
That was the goal.
He chose rock and roll as the best medium to do that.
Right. And to approach it from the point of view of an actor, not of, hi, I'm David Bowie, I'm going to play some music for you. Which is what every other rock and roll people, including Kiss, even though they're phenomenologically trying for performance, it's still, if you can walk into the grocery store and stick your tongue out without your makeup on,
they're not,
so that everybody knows who you are,
they're not that different than their performance.
Right, they are not that different. He was. He had a message
he was trying to convey.
Yeah.
He was a preacher.
So phenomenology, the way that it works in that performer auditor relationship is, to me, the most fascinating part of phenomenology. Now, phenomenology has a dozen different, you can have a phenomenological experience with a tree. You can have a phenomenological experience with a reading a book. You can have a phenomenological, pardon? Dogs, exactly.
Dogs.
Oh, definitely. But there is this, at any point when you are, kind of the way that I think about the phenomenological relationship, and probably philosophers will disagree with me, that it's as if we throw a ball up between the two of us, and then we start bouncing it between our third eye. Okay. Our experience becomes the same and different all at the same time. You have your own set of perceptions. The person that you are relating with, or the individual, the creature, the thing itself that you are relating with, becomes both performer and receiver. And every philosopher in the world is just going to go cringe when they hear me say that, but that's how I see phenomenology.
I am a philosopher, and I'm not cringing.
I think that it, when you talk about that experience that you have of sitting in the space with, and I'm talking about this from an audience point of view, an auditor's point of view at this moment. That experience of having the thing itself envelop you is the thing about phenomenology that...
You mean like in the 70s when they started running out into the audience?
No, not necessarily. That, in fact, that was...
Was that the opposite of phenomenology?
No. I mean, you have a phenomenon. There isn't an opposite of phenomenology, in my opinion, that everything can be related to in a phenomenological sense. Okay?
Yeah.
But that was sort of forcing the issue. I think if you are sitting in that, okay, let me put it into theater terms. You're sitting in the darkened space.
Right.
You're sitting in the space, there is the thing itself that's going on around it while the audience comes in and finds their seats and chit chats and becomes quiet because the lights are dimmed and the space gets dark and quiet, and that breathless moment before the new thing that is about to happen happens. There is still this thing, this tangible moment of that develops into the next thing, which is the performers coming out and performing, and yet also communing with their audience, and their performance changing because of the way that we breathe in the space, and spend that hour, 2 hours, whatever it takes to get through that and live in that moment that we are creating this. I mean, and this is the thing about theater, and is that it creates its own circle, its own time out of time.
Yeah.
Because the world, the real world outside of that sacred space that's created within the theater stops. It does not intrude unless some asshole forgot to turn off their phone.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I did theater for a number of years.
Yeah.
In my early days, and I know what you're talking about. It's that, you know, when you're there on stage and it's happening, it's a different world.
Right.
It is a microcosm in to itself, and it is phenomenology is what that's called.
It is, well, it is the phenomenon.
Yeah.
It is, you are experiencing the phenomenon in a first person way.
Yeah.
Everyone in that space.
Right.
And whether we're talking about, I mean, if we expand this out to all sacred space, the same thing happens in a circle. The same thing happens in a church.
Yes.
The same thing happens
Yes.
in any space that is time out of time, that is set apart specially for being time out of time.
Because they're all versions of the same thing.
Right. Now, why can that happen when you are reading or when you are looking at a painting or any of those other things? And it just can, because you have set aside this sacred space to commune with that thing itself, whether that thing is another person, an animal,
art does that.
an art, any of those, a book, any of those kinds of things. You have set this up to be a phenomenological first-person experience. Even if the book that you're reading is talking to you in third person, you're still experiencing it in a first-person way. So literarily, you can still have a phenomenological experience with the thing itself, the book, because it is relating an experience. And if you, especially if you are an empathetic person and can actually step into the role of the characters that you're reading about, you then, it then becomes part and parcel of your being and who you are. So, have I described phenomenology in any you know, legitimate university gonna pass your dissertation kind of way? Probably not.
I don't. I just. It's just not a term that I had come across, and now that I have a general idea, I can research what other people say about it